Mike Tyson, one of the most feared heavyweight champions in boxing history, didn't just defeat his opponents, he created rivalries that defined an entire era of the sport. Every fighter who stepped into the ring with Tyson knew they were facing not only incredible power, but also a personality fueled by pride, anger, and the desire to dominate. Tyson's career wasn't built solely on knockouts. It was shaped by intense battles with fighters who challenged him physically and mentally. Some opponents pushed him to the absolute edge of his abilities, forcing him to prove he was truly the best. Others disrespected him, igniting personal grudges that made their fights feel more like wars than sporting contests. Over the years, these rivalries became legendary stories within the boxing world. They created unforgettable moments that fans still debate decades later. To understand Tyson's legacy, you have to look beyond his knockouts and examine the fierce rivals who helped shape the myth of Iron Mike. One of the earliest rivals who played a major role in Tyson's rise was Trevor Berbick. When Tyson faced Berbick in 1986, the young fighter wasn't just fighting for the WBC Heavyweight Championship, he was fighting to prove that the hype surrounding him was real. Berbick, a veteran fighter who had famously defeated Muhammad Ali in Ali's final professional bout, didn't take Tyson seriously. He believed Tyson was simply a product of media excitement rather than a legitimate champion. That attitude only fueled Tyson's determination. Inside the ring, Tyson unleashed a storm of brutal punches that Berbick struggled to handle. In the second round, Tyson's power overwhelmed him completely. Berbick was knocked down and struggled to regain his footing, famously stumbling across the canvas as if his legs had stopped listening to him. The victory crowned Tyson the youngest heavyweight champion in boxing history. For Tyson, this fight wasn't just about winning a belt, it was about proving doubters wrong. Another major rivalry came against Michael Spinks in 1988. At the time, Tyson had already built a reputation as the most dangerous fighter in the world, often called the baddest man on the planet. But Spinks was no ordinary challenger. He was an undefeated champion and a former light heavyweight king who had successfully moved up to the heavyweight division. Many boxing experts believed his unusual style and technical skills could give Tyson serious problems. The fight generated enormous hype and became one of the most anticipated boxing events of the decade. Spinks carried the respect of traditional boxing fans who admired his skill and intelligence in the ring. Tyson, however, felt that Spinks was being praised as a true boxer, while he was dismissed as just a powerful puncher. When the fight finally began, Tyson wasted no time making his point. In just 91 seconds, he knocked Spinks out with a devastating right hand. The quick destruction of Spinks shocked the boxing world. Millions of viewers who had tuned in expecting a competitive battle instead witnessed one of the fastest knockouts in heavyweight championship history. Spinks lay on the canvas staring at the lights, his undefeated record erased in less than 2 minutes. Tyson's performance was more than just another victory, it was a statement. Critics who doubted his skill had to reconsider their opinions. Tyson had not only knocked out a champion, but had done it with frightening ease. For Tyson, the win represented a form of validation. He believed he had proven that he wasn't just a brute force fighter, but a dominant champion, capable of destroying even the most respected opponents. The fight cemented Tyson's image as the most intimidating figure in boxing. At that moment in his career, he seemed completely unstoppable, a fighter whose power and confidence made him appear almost invincible. However, every empire eventually faces a moment of collapse. For Mike Tyson, that moment came in 1990 when he fought James "Buster" Douglas in Tokyo, Japan. Going into the fight, Tyson was considered unbeatable. Douglas entered the ring as a massive 42-1 underdog, and very few people believed he had any chance of winning. Even Tyson himself seemed to underestimate the challenger. Reports suggested that Tyson's training camp had been careless and distracted, with the champion spending more time partying than preparing. Douglas, on the other hand, arrived with something to prove. Fighting with determination and discipline, used his jab effectively and refused to be intimidated by Tyson's reputation. Round after round, Douglas outboxed the champion.
Tyson appeared sluggish and frustrated, unable to dominate the fight the way he normally did. The balance of power in the ring was beginning to shift. In the 8th round, Tyson finally landed one of his famous uppercuts that knocked Douglas to the canvas. For a moment, it seemed like the fight would return to its expected script. But Douglas did something few Tyson opponents had ever done. He got back up and continued fighting. That moment changed everything. Douglas regained control of the match and continued landing sharp combinations. By the 10th round, the unthinkable happened. Douglas unleashed a powerful series of punches that sent Tyson crashing to the mat. The referee counted him out, and just like that, the undefeated champion had suffered his first knockout loss of his career. The result shocked the entire sports world. Tyson's aura of invincibility disappeared overnight. Douglas became the man who proved that even the most feared champion could fall. For Tyson, the defeat wasn't just a loss, it was a deeply humiliating moment. The guide had returned to earth. If there was one rival who truly defined Tyson's later career, it was Evander Holyfield. Their rivalry was intense, emotional, and filled with controversy. When they first fought in 1996, many fans believed Tyson would easily defeat Holyfield. At the time, Holyfield had faced health concerns, and critics questioned whether he was still at his peak. But Holyfield entered the ring fearless and determined. Instead of backing away from Tyson's aggression, he stood his ground and fought back with relentless pressure. Round after round, Holyfield absorbed Tyson's punches and delivered powerful counters of his own. Eventually, Tyson began to fade under the constant pressure. In the 11th round, Holyfield stopped Tyson in a stunning upset victory. The result shocked fans and proved that Holyfield possessed the heart and resilience to defeat one of the most dangerous fighters in history. Their rematch in 1997 became one of the most infamous fights in sports history. The tension between the two fighters had grown even stronger after the first fight. Tyson believed Holyfield used excessive headbutts during their bouts, which frustrated him deeply. As the fight progressed, Tyson became increasingly angry. Then, in one of the most shocking moments ever seen in a boxing ring, Tyson bit Holyfield's ear, not once, but twice. The second bite tore off a piece of Holyfield's ear, causing chaos in the arena. The fight was immediately stopped, and Tyson was disqualified. The incident stunned the world and became known as the Bite Fight. It turned their rivalry from a sporting contest into one of the most controversial moments in boxing history. For Tyson, it marked a moment where frustration and rage overtook discipline inside the ring. Another significant rival in Tyson's career was Lennox Lewis. Although both fighters rose to prominence during the same era, it took years for them to finally meet in the ring. Promotional conflicts, legal disputes, and Tyson's personal problems delayed the fight for a long time. By the time they faced each other in 1992, Tyson was no longer at his peak, while Lewis had become a disciplined and dominant heavyweight champion. The rivalry had already exploded outside the ring during a chaotic press conference where Tyson attacked Lewis, sparking a massive brawl between both teams. When the fight finally happened, Lewis used his size, reach, and technical skill to control the match. Tyson started aggressively, but couldn't break through Lewis's defense. In the 8th round, Lewis landed a powerful right hand that knocked Tyson down, forcing the referee to stop the fight. Not all of Tyson's rivalry stayed inside the boxing ring. One of the stranger feuds involved Mitch "Blood" Green. Tyson had already defeated Green in a boxing match in 1986, but their hostility didn't end there. Green continued talking trash and demanding a rematch. Then, in 1988, the rivalry spilled into the streets of New York when the two fighters unexpectedly encountered each other in a clothing store. An argument quickly escalated into a physical fight. Tyson and Green began throwing punches right there in public, creating a scene that quickly made headlines. The street fight ended with Green badly injured, suffering a swollen eye and facial damage, while Tyson walked away with a sore hand. The bizarre incident became another chapter in Wild Tyson's career.